It's 2 a.m. You're lying in bed. The room is dark. Everyone else in the world seems to be asleep. But your brain has other plans. It's replaying a conversation from 3 days ago, not because anything went wrong, just because there was one moment, one sentence, one look that your mind decided it needed to fully understand before it would let you rest. And you know this feeling. You've felt it your whole life. The thing is, everyone around you has an opinion about it. Too sensitive, too much. Just relax, you're overthinking again. And at some point, maybe you started believing them. Maybe you started treating your own mind like a problem, like something was slightly misconfigured about the way you process the world, like everyone else got a version of life that came with an off switch and you just didn't. But here's what the research actually shows, and it might change the way you see yourself. Psychology researchers who study rumination, the kind of deep, repetitive thinking most people call overthinking, have found something that doesn't get talked about enough. The same mental process that keeps you up at night is closely linked to significantly higher levels of empathy and emotional perception. In plain terms, the brain that overthinks is a brain that is constantly reading the room, registering subtle signals, and processing human experience at a depth most people simply don't reach. Think about what that actually means in real life. When you replay a conversation, you're not just going over the words. You're asking, what did they really mean? How are they actually feeling? Was there something underneath what they said that I missed? Most people hear the words and move on. You can't move on until you understand. And that inability to just let things go, that relentless drive to go deeper, is exactly what makes you understand people in a way that takes most individuals years of deliberate practice to develop. You do it automatically, at 2 a.m. against your will, but you do it. There's something else worth understanding here. Overthinking and creativity are more connected than most people realize. Deep, repetitive thinking about problems and experiences, what gets labeled as rumination, is consistently linked in psychology research to stronger creative problem solving. Because creativity doesn't come from accepting the first answer. It comes from refusing to. It comes from asking, but what if there's another way? What if the assumption everyone is making is wrong? What if we've been looking at this from completely the wrong angle? Those questions live in your head permanently, uninvited, often at the worst possible time. But that same restlessness, that refusal to let things just be, is the process behind every breakthrough, every original idea, every solution that no one else could see because no one else was willing to keep looking that long. You keep looking. Most people stopped an hour ago. So let's be specific about what these strengths actually look like in practice, because this isn't abstract. These are real advantages that show up in your actual life, even if no one has ever named them for you. Overthinkers often make better decisions over time, not faster decisions, better ones, because you account for variables others don't consider. You anticipate consequences others don't see coming. You ask the question everyone else forgot to ask. Overthinkers are often harder to manipulate. You notice inconsistencies. You pick up on when something doesn't add up. You're not easy to deceive because your brain automatically stress tests what it's being told. Overthinkers often build deeper relationships, not wider ones, deeper ones, because you actually listen. You remember what people said months ago. You notice when someone is struggling before they've said a word about it. The people in your life who know you well, they know you're the person they can call when things are actually serious. These aren't small things. These are the qualities that matter most when life gets complicated, and life always gets complicated. Now, here's the part that's important to say honestly, because this isn't just about telling you how great you are. That would be too easy, and honestly, you'd see right through it. Overthinking has a real cost. When that same processing power turns inward, when it stops analyzing the world and starts analyzing you, it becomes something different. The loop that won't stop, the decision you already made 3 weeks ago that your brain is somehow still auditing, the thing you said in a meeting that probably no one remembers except you.
Psychologists call this maladaptive rumination, and it is consistently linked to anxiety and difficulty with emotional regulation in people who haven't learned to redirect it. That part is real, it's hard, and it deserves to be said. But here's the key word: redirect. Not remove, not fix, not silence. Redirect. Because the same brain that spirals inward can be aimed outward, and when an overthinker learns to point that depth at problems, at people, at ideas, what comes out the other side is something genuinely rare. Not despite the overthinking, because of what it built. There's something else worth understanding here. The people who change things, the ones who write the books, solve the problems, notice what everyone else missed, are almost never the ones who couldn't switch off and move on. They're almost always the ones who couldn't stop thinking about it, who stayed with it longer than was comfortable, who turned it over one more time when everyone else had already gone to sleep. So if you've spent years apologizing for a mind that won't slow down, understand this. Your overthinking made you careful when others were careless. It made you aware when others were oblivious. It made you feel things deeply at a time when a lot of people had already gone numb. That is not a burden disguised as a strength. It is a strength that the world simply hasn't had the patience to understand yet. And somewhere, right now, someone is lying awake at 2 a.m. turning something over in their mind for the 100th time. And that thing they're turning over, it's going to matter. They just don't know it yet. If this video said something you needed to hear, share it with someone who needs it too. Subscribe to Mindset to Success for weekly videos on psychology, mindset, and the quiet strengths most people never get credit for. I'll see you in the next one.